Call this meeting order. This is our Ware County Board of Commission call meeting Monday, January the 23rd, 23. And I'm gonna ask Mr. Burst if he would lead us in prayer.
Yes. Father, we thank you, Lord, for this day, Lord, that you have made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. We ask, oh God, you will bless us that we deliberate the business of this county. We pray, God, you continue to bless all the citizens of this county and this city. And we pray, God, you will continue to be with us in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Let's pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank y'all. We're gonna do a roll call and then we'll start. Mr. Burst.
Present.
Mr. Pope.
Present.
Mr. Lucas. He's not here.
He's at a library board.
Okay.
This afternoon.
Mr. Barner.
Present.
Okay. All right, now, let's, we're gonna approve the agenda. I hear
So moved.
I hear a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, got a second? Okay, any discussion on it? If not, let's vote on it. Mr. Burst?
Aye.
Mr. Pope? Aye. Mr. Lucas? Mr. Barner?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay, now, we got a guest speaker this afternoon, and I asked him to do a little research on some timber doings that we had coming in. I think that what I was wanting to know myself, and I'd like for the commission to know what kind of income we get off of timber for the county to be able to, maybe we can put a little money back into the roads is my thought on this. And I've asked, and Mr. Tommy Pigler is gonna come up and share with us a little bit about what he knows about the timber industry and what it does for the county. Hey, Tommy, come up.
All right, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Ehrman and I were talking about the timber business, and he was replanting trees. My family's always been in that too, seems like forever in Ware County. And anyway, I'm Tommy Pigler Jr. Me and Mr. Poncell back on the back were talking. We grew up in Jamestown. He said he'd been there forever and a day. But anyway, my family's from Maynard, came over from Clinch County, and we got in turntime business years ago. We came down from South Carolina in the late 1800s and got in turntime business and migrated from Clinch County to Maynard, and then we've been in Ware County really ever since then. And so it's kind of in my blood and in our blood. And one thing me and Mr. Ehrman was talking about was the county roads and the amount of money that's taken in by the timber taxes. So roughly $20 million is paid from the timber companies like an Enviva to the logging crews and to the landowner and to the haulers as well. From that $20 million, 13 of that is the landowner's money. So about 70%, so $13 million roughly is what the landowner gets. The other 30%, $7 million yearly, is split between the logging company and the hauler and the timber dealer that's purchased the wood. Okay, that's in Ware County. So, in terms of where we are in the state of Georgia and Ware County, and then I'll get back to the 13 million and how that relates down to taxes. So, in the state of Georgia, Ware County is the largest county in the state of Georgia. Probably a third to a half our counties in swampland, but we're still in the top 5 in timber producing counties in the state of Georgia. So Clinch County and Homerville and Charlton County swap back and 2 every few years about who's number 1 and who's number 2. And I always tell people Ware County would be number 1 if they hadn't put all our land in half of it in the swamp. But anyway, so we somewhere around number 5 in the state of Georgia, and Georgia's number 1 in the country in timber production. In terms of timber in our state, agriculture, which can be pecans, chickens, cotton, any of that, is higher than timber, but no one commodity is higher than timber. Timber's the highest commodity in the state in terms of how much it means to the state. And in our southeastern United States, this is probably, to me, blows my mind, is that southeastern United States, 13 states, produce 23% of the world's forest resources. That's boards, lumber, paper, fuel pellets, plywood. 23% of the world's resources of wood comes from 13 southern states. Pretty neat. Georgia's number one, okay? And somebody told me the other day, I didn't look this up, but they think that Georgia now is the number one state in the United States in terms of timber production because of all the environmental concerns you have out west in Montana and Oregon and Washington out there. Those states are bigger than Georgia, but we just have more opportunities with our landowners and our replanting. And I'll say this because I can run a rabbit, but let me say this and I'll move on back to the 13 million that the landowners get in the taxes. So about 4 years ago, a group from England came over from a college in the United Kingdom. They came over here, Newton Reed College, Carlisle, England. And they came over and they rode around and they looked at our timber. And they said, who planted that tree? And I said, well, probably could have been the granddaddy, could have been the daddy, it could have been one of the kids, or the family. And they said, how old is it? And I said, it's probably about 10 years old. How do you know? I said, well, on average dirt, a pine tree will grow about 2 feet a year, roughly, on average dirt. So I said, it's 20 foot tall, it's probably about 10 years old. And they said, when can they cut it? And I said, well, between 15 and 20 years, when it gets about 30 to 40 years, you could cut it. Some people let it live a little bit longer. And they said, as a group, there was 8 of them, they said most people wouldn't do that in the UK because they're ready for money, They want their money then. So they'll put sheep out there or cows out there or something like that rather than timber. So my point is that it is an investment for that landowner for a long time. It's not like pecans or cotton or poultry or anything like that. It's a long-term investment, and it's taxed as a capital gains. We were talking about that earlier, okay? So going back to that, so I'm applauding those people that keep our state and our county green, that it's going to take 15 to 20 years before they'll ever get any money out of it, okay? So there's input costs too in the replanting. And anyway, I won't get into that but let's think about the taxes. So $13 million that the landowners in Ware County are taxed at the millage rate, which in terms of timber is roughly around 3%, okay? That's going to be about $400,000 a year that's collected from taxes from timber, okay? So my question is, and my thoughts are, is to see that money being used on the county roads, whether that is upkeep or whether that is paving some of the roads that's in the county. And I don't know how that money's spent right now, but I'm just saying it would be nice to know how, as that's collected from Roger and them, how is that divvied out back into the county? An example is a landowner that I helped them sell their timber. It was off of the Jordan Ford Road below the Manor, and then we turned off on the Kite Road, 250 acres. They cut around $700,000. That's $21,000, 700 times 0.03, $21,000 that landowner last year contributed to taxes in Ware County just for their timber tax. So did it take $21,000 to maintain and keep up Jordan Ford Road? Well, I don't know, but that landowner was able to contribute that much to that road. So that's just an example of what some of our landowners are contributing to, the roads in our area. So I just ask y'all, and I'll take any questions and on what knowledge I have, but I just like for you to consider, getting these roads, keeping them up. And I'll say this, I saw Michael Brooks earlier, and they do a good job of responding to culverts that we need as loggers and foresters to put in, and keeping the roads maintained like we need. But anyway, any questions that I might take or entertain?
I got something.
Y'all have any?
Yeah. First of all, I appreciate, that course 101 on timber. I didn't realize the impact we had, but could you quote that again? You say 23% of the world's, what was that?
23% of the world's forest products come from 13 southern states.
That's pretty.
It's pretty amazing, really.
Yeah,
and
it is.
you know, anyway, I got theories on that, but I can tell you, I'll tell you a little bit about it. I went to the UK myself, and they don't have timber like we do. They have erosion problems, and they subsidize farming over there, sheep farming. And I asked the people that had the sheep farms, I said, where's your house? We live in subsidized housing in town. We have to ride side by sides in four-wheelers out here because they cut all the timber back in the olden days to build ships, and they never replanted. And so they hadn't got on that rotation that we have. So the turpentine business that I talked about earlier, back in the late 1900s, that business cultivated a mindset that's in our area that people don't even have any idea about, where you cut timber, you replant. It's a mindset. There's money made, but you won't see it for 15 to 20 years on the first part of it. Right. But it's just kind of neat to think that generation after generation continues to replant, and that tree takes in carbon dioxide and gives us back oxygen that we breathe. And that's why I think we live in a green, healthy state.
Let me ask something I've been kind of curious about. I retired from the railroad, and I remember when biomass came out there. What kind of impact has that had, especially on the pine tree industry? Because they make the wooden pellets and all that kind of stuff out there. But I'm just wondering, because I used to work the job, went out there to pull 40 cars in, empty, and pull 40 loads out. And I'm just wondering, how long can that go? Because the tree's not growing that fast.
Well, it is. Let me tell you what's neat about it. So Georgia right now is growing 33% more fiber than it's harvesting. So we are a plus. So the European countries that put in Georgia biomass, that was Germans, that was some Swedes, it was just, a lot of European people. And they said, we want to come to Georgia because Georgia's green. So we are still in a plus 33% every year that we see them coming down the road. And I'll tell you something interesting. So I'm at Jerry J's, sitting there listening to two guys behind me talk about log trucks coming by, and we're going to run out of wood. And I tell them, I said, well, a pine tree gets cut down, it's only going to come back by a seed, okay? A hardwood tree gets cut down, it's going to stump sprout. Every hardwood tree stump sprouts. The only way you're going to keep a red maple or oak tree or a cherry tree from growing is if you dig it up. Every one of them is coming back from a stump. But a pine tree takes a seed. But anyway, we're in good shape. That's why people want to come here. The fuel pellets that we got here at Enviva go overseas. So them 40 trains get pulled to Savannah, and another 40 come back, and they just keep rolling. And they carry them overseas because of the cost of of their heating and air over there. It's so great compared to ours.
Tell me, what is the projected tonnage per acre of wood a year, say on 1 acre, a 10-year-old?
Five tons per acre.
It increases 5 tons per acre.
On an average size.
That's how you increase.
So somebody.
That's what you were saying.
Right. So if somebody calls me like they did today, and they said, I got a 10-year-old stand of trees, and like I said, 10-year-old tree be about 20 feet tall. Yeah. So I'll take 10 of them 5, and that's 50 tons per acre. And then if give the price of wood, let's use a figure and say price of wood's $20 a ton for pulpwood. Then I'm going to take 50 times 20. It's 10 years old. It's got $1,000 worth of wood on it. Okay. Right. But it's not merchantable yet. It's pre-merchantable, but it's got value. Okay. And I would say compare it to a 10-year-old kid that's really good. Okay. On a football team. Okay. So Stetson Bennett's on a 10-year-old football team. He ain't got no value right now, but he does now, right? Yeah. As a 25-year-old, he's got value. So if you want to look at a tree that's 10 years old, it's got potential. and it's got pretty marketable value, but when it gets 25, it's gonna have value. So if you took 25 times 5 times 20, now you're talking about $3,000 an acre.
I got a question for you, Tommy. Comparing agricultural land against timberland. So if I got 100 acres of farmland under irrigation, it'd bring what, $200 an acre rent?
Probably rent, yeah, close to.
So
Yeah,
that-
it'll
so
go
that's
180.
$20,000 a year. All right, 15 years, that'd be, see, say 250. Let's just say $250,000 for 15 years. Would that be more money off agriculture than it would be growing timber?
It would be in terms of the taxes, so is the county, are they receiving, those taxes? Like, is that like a sales tax or how, I know how timber's taxed, but I don't know
I mean,
how.
on agriculture, I mean, they just pay regular property tax, just like anything.
So is it going in the same pot, I guess?
The timber
Okay.
tax goes in the same pot, general funds, everything.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
what I'm asking, say if I had that land, wouldn't I be better off putting it in agriculture than I would be timber?
If it's, you ain't gonna get no, you ain't gonna, probably ain't gonna get but about $85 an acre for it though. Unless you spend another $2,000 to $3,000 an acre.
I know what you're
The
saying,
pivot
and it's,
systems and all that.
yeah, from that math, it may be better. I'm looking at the conservation wise and what we're doing in terms of the green and the long term on the land. But
You have a
anyway,
lot
it could be.
less- You have a lot less mechanic, cost and labor in the timber than you will on the agriculture.
Agriculture.
Somebody's gonna have to tend that every year.
Sure.
Crop, a row crop, whereas that timber, you do a little bit of maintenance and it's gonna grow pretty well as a
Yeah.
low labor intensity, where that agriculture.
But then whenever you cut the timber, you're gonna have to pay somebody to go out there and prep it, plant it. That's cost you another, what, $500 an acre roughly?
350, probably 400, yeah. Yeah.
I just
Sure.
curious.
Yeah. A lot of time though, I think, Steve, this land down here is not real cropland, what we call like, would be up in
Out
Illinois, Indiana, somewhere like that.
Well, that's a good point too. I know out on, Indian Mound Road, my cousin put in pecans out there, and of course my granddaddy, he's passed away, but he said this is good dirt for timber, that's it. And his pecan trees are not doing very well. So there's land that's, when you get Manor, down that way, you're looking at,
Too wet.
it's pretty wet, yeah, so, yeah. But I think the opportunity for farming land is there too, it just depends on the soil, yeah.
Yeah, depending on soil.
Okay.
But yeah, farmland will beat it, if you've got it. Answering your question, it would probably beat the timber.
The right land and the right drainage and the right soil, I'd probably rather be farming.
Yeah.
But we got a lot of land that, yeah, we got some soil that probably need to be in timber.
But I appreciate you coming, Tommy. What,
Sure.
I like to, I like to know what the timber industry's doing. That way, we doing, so what I'm after is putting a little more money back out into the roads out in the country.
Sure.
Where the timber is made, like you said, that guy done paid $20,000, and a lot of them do that. I paid that in 21, so, and I'm still living on dirt road, but.
Well, if it's 15 miles back in the woods to where you're cutting timber out, it would be feasible to pay you that 15 miles, but he ain't gonna use it but once every 15, 20 years.
Well,
Well, but his neighbor right next to him might be cutting another 250 acres, and then the other cutting 250 acres right there on that road. There's a pile of land down them roads, both sides.
I'll say this, hush, but I know that the road department here does a great job. I'll say that.
Yeah,
Responding to what we're doing in terms of harvesting timber. And when I lived up in Athens, after I got through with school at Georgia, I got a forestry degree, but I bought wood up there. And they had come with these bonds before we ever did down here. So we just started doing the bond in terms of timber harvesting. But they would actually have a tag on that site. So it was, maybe they got a bond and it was number 700. So if you, and I think about Roger's job in collecting and making sure these timber companies are turning in these PT 283 forms, which is timber tax form, is having these logging sites have a decal or something that if somebody rides by, they can call and say, does this logging job have a, are they permitted?
I think in 2007, I'm the one that created that timber harvesting permit, if I was tax commissioner.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you something, Steve. Does the state pay any tax when they sell timber on the state?
We get so much money every year from the state of Georgia.
But they don't pay
timber.
timber.
Yeah, we get several $100,000 a year from the state off of timber.
Do-
And federal down in the swamp.
Payment in lieu of taxes.
Right.
Okay. Well, I
According to our
appreciate it.
figures,
Anybody else? Yeah, go ahead.
according to our figures, last year, 2020, Ware County received about $181,000 in timber tax. That goes in the general fund. If that was taken out of general fund and paving roads out in the middle of nowhere, where would that money come from to be replaced in the general fund to operate the entire government? To me, that's a problem. I just don't, everybody agrees that agriculture, particularly timber in Ware County is a big deal. It's a big industry. But to me, the county commission has to, and I'm not saying yes or no on what the chairman's proposing, but there has to be a balance. The money has to be spread out in a bunch of places. And to me, it's hard to just pick one industry, one little section of business to have a special fund and cater to that bunch. Not making any sense. We got sales tax money, got transportation sales tax money. To do that, we're fixed to vote on a good bit of money to be spent. To me, it's just hard to explain to somebody who's in town, who's not in timber business, why we're showing favoritism to the timber industry.
Well, when I think about somebody that's like these people that cut 700 something thousand and they pay $21,000 of taxes, and they're the ones riding up and down that dirt road, that timber company's riding up and down that dirt road to harvest that logging crew's coming up and down there. So if their money's from cutting their timber and that 100 something thousand that you talked about, and my figures came from Roger over the past 5 years.
Yeah, these came too. We have to split the income with the Board of Education. And our share in 2020 was about 181,000.
I got you. Okay. But I still think that when you think about people in town, and they're coming and going and paying taxes and paying sales taxes, and that person out there that lives down that long dirt road, the only benefit that they're gonna get is if that money that they've sat there and waited on that product to grow for those years. So I would say you and I would probably disagree in terms of how that money was split. I would think that money would be better for the rural area, but.
I understand. I just sold a bunch of timber in Bullock County. Fortunately, it was on a paved road, so. But I know exactly where you're coming from, and I'm fine, but it just has to be a balance, to me, with income into the county. It's gotta spread out a bunch of ways, and we're doing, there's more sales tax coming, thank goodness, and another transportation sales tax. There's gonna be paving countywide. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you one thing. The state Georgia Forestry is requiring this new online reporting program starting, I think, June 1st, July 1st, for all timbers cutting and timber sales. I know you've been involved forever. And I know that Rayonier, the big companies, will report, as they should, just a guesstimate, how many private producers maybe forget to report timber sales. Because I know the road department has come across those in the past.
Sure, probably 15%, 10 to 15%. And the reason I say that is I feel like that just because of the economics of the wood business and how there's not as much profit as there used to be, that the people that's in it now are very more, I'd say, professionals. The other thing that you got is I looked up, and in Ware County, there's 18 professional loggers registered in Ware County.
18?
18. So if you go to Georgia Forestry website and put GA-MTH, which is their master timber harvester, so 18 individuals in Ware County are master timber harvester certified.
They're
Which
not gonna
means-
lose their certification by not reporting either.
They should, potentially, they're supposed to. So my point is that these people that don't report have been in a class, they've listened to somebody like me, because I've taught it, they've listened to me say, you need to you need to make sure you contact the county. It's very important, but it's also important because for Ware County and all your surrounding counties, all this timber data that we get on who cuts the most timber, it's all through that PT 83 form. So that form that's turned in down there with Roger and them, it's got all that tonnage on there. That's the ones that comes out. So you start talking about what counties produce wood and so forth. So, yeah.
So when you say they forget, you mean they conveniently forget?
Oh, yeah.
Conveniently forget.
I thought you were talking about conveniently forget.
Conveniently on purpose forget.
They know better. I'd say that.
Yeah.
They know better.
But these mills can get in trouble too for not reporting it, can't they, or is they?
Well, they're audited. They're audited.
They should be audited.
And they got coordinates.
Yeah.
So I see it coming a day when that just like with us. So I work with Rayonier, and so when we have a logging crew that goes and cuts on a tract of timber, we know their coordinates.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're not paying the timber tax for them. They might bring the wood to our mill in Offerman or Jessup, which is where I work at, but they're a private producer logger that's cutting on John Doe's property, hauling their wood to us, and what we're mainly concerned about is environmental. So we're concerned about is the Georgia EPD, the way they're logging, are they tearing up the property? So we go out and we audit them, but we don't audit them, have you paid Ware County their bond, or have you paid, you following me? But there may be a day when all of that group is sharing information, where Georgia Forestry and Rayonier and Ware County government are all sharing information, so they know John Doe logger is turning in the timber bond.
See, that's where your tax assessors also is the big deal in it. Whenever they go out there riding the county, they see a parcel of land that's being cut, they can pull up on the map and see if it tax has been paid on it, timber tax.
I know some local governments, and Tommy's probably got experience with this in other places, that a lot of times that's the reason why counties are flown every year. They can within just a few months find out where things have been cut that wasn't registered or turned in, and that was a way of helping to try to police it.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting point. When did we start? Didn't we sign a contract with a company to fly once a
Every
year?
year, isn't it?
Yeah, we did it for a 3-year period, and we just renewed for a second, 3-year period.
When will they start? I mean, now's the time.
Yeah, they fly in January and February.
February.
Yeah.
Mr. Pigler, so let me ask you this, when you're talking about the trees and all that and the roads, so am I understanding you saying that where you got these people that's, paying all this timber tax and all that, if they're on a long dirt road or whatever, that those roads need to be paved or just maintained more, or what are you saying?
I think they need to be maintained, and make sure that we'll be on the road, and I'll go back to the Jordan Ford Road, okay, and Michael Brooks has well knowledge of this road, but you've got places where there needs to be some culverts added, and not just a culvert thrown in and dirt put over it, but you're gonna have to stabilize it, but when it rains like it just did, you could go out there today and see where there needs to be a culvert at. Now there's other roads that I think, like a Maynard Wasboro Road, where you got a connecting road that is, there's a lot of wood that's going down that road. Now, it might be a road that could be looked at paving in the future. But no, that one house down to 15 mile or dirt right now,
Yeah.
I agree. No, that's
Because what I'm
not,
thinking about is when they bring that equipment and stuff in there, does that have an effect on, I mean, tearing a
Oh,
paved
yeah.
road up more?
You run 10 or 15 log trucks over a dirt road today, you gonna have that thing watered out before you
yes,
turn around.
it's pretty bad. Michael and them stay real busy.
Yeah.
Behind these logging crews, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Tom.
All right.
All right, thank you, Tommy, I appreciate that.
Welcome.
Thank you,
Appreciate you coming and talk to us. Okay. Okay, we're on the agenda items. Today, we're gonna go on A, 2023 Georgia DOT LMIG project list. We have one on this paving.
Yes, sir. This is, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, Commission, this is a list that the engineering, along with Public Works, came up with for resurfacing, only because we had to remove the resurfacing away from any road paving, only because the state standard is we have to have design specs with the ones that we turn in for LMIG. So when we're gonna use local money, this would be paid out of LMIG with the required match of 10%. And then the meeting in February 13th, we'll bring back the road paving list.
Okay.
And that would be paid with local money.
Splost and T-Splost, whatever else we can
Yes,
gather
sir.
up.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is just gonna be the resurfacing.
That's correct. Yes, sir. Only because we've got to turn this in pretty quickly.
What by the end of the month, isn't it?
Yes, sir. And that's the reason why we need to get this one approved so we can turn them in.
So we have to do a 10% match on this?
Yes, sir. Acquired 10% match because we're in the regional T-Splost, and you can add more money to it. It's just required that you put 10% in.
Okay, so this
Okay.
amount, this 1,360,000,
1,360,000.
does that have the 10% figured in with it, or that?
That's well, the grant that we get from the state is a little over $1 million. It's like 1,028,000, and then so that difference, whatever that is, would be a local match.
Okay.
So, okay, so, so it'd be a little bit more than 10% than what?
That yes, sir.
Right.
It would be.
When you added all these roads up, it just went a little over the 10% in total, a little better than that. So have we got, I mean, are we able to do that?
Yes, sir. Uh-huh.
Okay. So are y'all okay with that?
I'm good with it,
Let's
cause
prove
we're
them right.
kicking it around and
Yeah.
bouncing it around, we need to.
Yeah, we done he's got these listed, and I guess, I don't
I
know,
ask
Brandon might tell us,
Brandon,
Brandon, will you come in?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
List all the, I mean, these roads here, these overlay, this is all just overlay work.
Yes, sir. Resurfacing list
Resurfacing.
to try to go with the intent of using the LMIG primarily for the resurfacing, and then using some of those other local funds that y'all mentioned to do those other dirt road paving projects, and that kind of speeds the turnover of that project, and it would help us meet the DOT's deadlines on turning that over and processing that. They really want you to be quick with that and get that money out there and put it to use. That's why they have those deadlines set up as part of the LMIG program.
Okay.
Brandon, when we was riding the other day, we went down North River Road, there's a bunch of bad stuff we seen on that road. Are they gonna be enough money in this right here to take care of them?
Yes, sir. The way I interpreted our discussions out there, Mr. Chairman, was to try to include some deep patching that we're talking about doing an adjacent roadway out there. And as part of that, while we would have the contractor out there on site, I don't think it'd be very difficult to pick them up before they go and move to the next spot to take care of those patches. We were looking at some of those bad areas on North River Road as part of that Dixie Union Road.
Gene Smith, Bennett Road, Does it need resurfacing?
That's that one,
Go to
there,
Haywood Church.
goes up to the church, yes, sir. We were thinking to try to pick that up while we're right there at it and take care of it as well and, get a little more economy of scale there.
Okay. All right. I tell you, well, I ain't gonna add the other ones that we need. Is there any more questions on it?
On that Central Avenue, can Michael come up and explain the outlet from Heron's Pond on Central Avenue, the beavers have it washed out. It's undermined now. They've had to temporarily fill in under the road. Can you explain what's been discussed about repairing it? We won't be tearing the road up, but how we're gonna do it?
Right. All right, we've looked into a process of, for lack of a better term, it's called slip lining the concrete culverts that are under the road to seal them off to where we won't have any leaks. And then mud jacking the culverts so that we do not have to tear the highway up. We can seal them off and fill in the void that's up under that highway to keep from tearing up that new asphalt, keep everything level so we don't have a major cut on that highway. We won't have to stop traffic and keep traffic rolling on that route to the town.
We'll also address the beaver problem at the same time.
Correct. We're looking at a process Commissioner Pope has shown me online. Clemson University's got a study out with a device to try to keep the water flowing so that beavers won't stop it up as bad. So we're gonna try to look at that as well.
I think DOT uses those beaver things and keeps it down. We try that. We can build it at our shop, right?
Something's pretty simple to build.
Yeah. So that's what that is. I just wanted y'all to know.
Where's, that's on Night Avenue?
Central.
I mean, Central,
Avenue, right up under here,
Here's
Harris Pond.
Pond.
right here in Pond.
Culvert is under the
Yes.
road.
Yeah.
Michael, you mentioned about the slip thing and all. What do you feel that in with under there?
It's actually a, Chairman might have seen them do it before. It's like a, how would you describe it, Brandon? It's like a liner. It's like a liner that's pushed in
Yes,
backwards. And then they heats it or blue lights it or something and it hardens. So it is basically seals that pipe off to where it'll never leak again.
So, but it goes inside.
It goes inside the pipe. It goes in inside out. And they push it from one side to the other, and it turns inside, it inverts itself inside the pipe as it goes through.
And then you heat it or something to make it expand.
About like, the easiest way to describe it, when you go to the dentist and they use the blue light to harden the filling, they do it the same way. That
Leaves
is
a smooth interior inside
correct.
once it sets.
Pretty
once it
neat right
cures.
there. So, in other words, like I say, that circumvent all that having to tear up and go in there, cause in the end, you're still accomplishing the same
You can
thing.
keep the highway open while you'll be down to one lane, but you keep the highway open while we're,
So is that pretty expensive doing it that way?
that's,
I think it,
it's,
No,
it's
I mean, depending on how you wanna measure it, but it's
keeping the road open.
a while to tear up the road and have to form up a box culvert and all that stuff.
We just resurfaced that, what, 2 years ago?
Yeah,
Something like that.
Got
The beavers are
got
tearing
pretty
it
good
up.
void up under the road.
it's a lot of traffic.
Okay.
We looked at the figures and this appears to be the best value to the county to do it like this. We'll also inject, grout, it's got a synthetic grout around the pipe to
Around the
stabilize the road.
what's under that thing? Is there a culvert under there?
Two lines 48.
248? Are they 8 foot joints?
96 foot, they 4 foot joints.
4 foot joint? I'd just slip line that thing.
Sorry.
It'd probably be better just slip line it.
Yeah,
That's what we was trying to look at. We've never done one, so DOT's doing a bunch of them.
DOT.
That's be a good one to try.
We did a few over in Pierce County. It works really well. We did sewer lines the same.
Yeah,
way.
they slip line it, that's what they call it. Jack it through there. Okay.
so,
And there's, DOT's got ongoing contracts, so we'd be able to piggyback off one of their contracts, could turn the project fairly quick and get it done.
Yeah. I think we had that guy's name. It was Scott. Didn't he leave a card when they were doing quarter Z out there?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think it's the same
we
guy.
had. He was a contractor.
Yeah.
He gave me a card.
I've forgotten about that, yes.
And I
sir.
brought it, I think
Yeah.
I gave it to Scott. We talked about it one time. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Anybody else, anything else on it? All right, do I hear a motion that we do this?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to set this 2023 LMIG proposed project list.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Okay, any discussion on it, anything? We can't add no more to the list or take from it.
You can add local money to this. You just have to have a required match to their money at 10%. So you can add other research, but it would have to be overlaying resurfacing because you can't mix the road paving with it.
But anything
There's
we add
one-
has to be the DOT specifications.
That's correct, yeah. And this is all, that's correct, yes, sir.
There's one street that really needs it, and I think it's Washington Avenue, and that'd be under Jerry's, district, wouldn't it?
That the county portion or the city portion?
I don't know, it might be,
From where to
I
where?
reckon it might be, cause city limits, I mean, we don't, that's not under us, is it?
Which way, Chairman?
East or west?
West,
Back to the shops?
Back towards the
yeah,
shops?
is part of it under there? It ain't, it's
That's
probably all
city all the way
city.
down to the old
County,
depot.
Once you go out towards, back toward the old Swamp Road
It's
side,
all under.
That way would be in the county, but other ways in the city. But
Okay.
I agree, city needs to do.
Ooh, that thing needs bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they will. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't really know where that line is. But, okay, we got a motion and a second, any more? Let's vote on it. Mr. Burson.
Aye.
Mr. Post. Mr. Lucas. Mr. Barnes.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay,
And I mentioned a while ago, just so you know, we'll bring the road paving list at the next meeting for the first February meeting.
okay, that's on, now, we got a list of those two.
Yes, sir, I
Everybody
think we
agreed?
do, don't we, Brandon?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Have you got that list that we're gonna do, that's gonna stay in the money that we appropriate for it?
Yes, sir.
You have,
That
okay,
stuff like we talking about, like with
yeah,
Little
for
Field,
the
where they-
paving,
Right.
You
yeah,
talking about from Friday, Mr. Chairman?
right.
Field trip
One-
list.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay,
Got it.
all right, well, good, Brandon, appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
All right. If not, any commissioners' comments?
I've got one thing. Scott, could we get Jennifer to draft a speed ordinance for the Sand Hill Farm subdivision out there? Cause no speed limit signs out there.
yes, sir.
We're getting a bunch of complaints about people flying up and down Sand Hill Church Road and Neighbors Drive. See if we can get some speed ordinance.
Yeah, it's not posted out there anyway, so it probably needs to be done. Yeah.
Okay.
Brandon, can you give about a 2-minute recap on how everything going in Jamestown?
Oh, yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, they've been,
moving right along, and I don't know how bad it's gotten washed out over the weekend. Hadn't had a chance to go out there to check them out today. I'm sure it was pretty impactful. There were some places in the county that got some significant rainfall, but up until this weekend, everything had been going well. They had completed most of the demucking process with digging out the unsuitable materials to haul in some better dirt. They were very happy with the borrowed material that they've ran into so far out there, so that's been progressing nicely. It's probably a little wet out there. They started on the Jamestown side, and I think that was probably the better end. I think when you cross over there towards Wind Clay, there's a pretty long stretch over till you start to come up. There's pretty good flat there. Floodplain, I guess is what you'd call it, with a lot of muddy, and I think that's where we had some problems trying to get the tests run. They were trying to come down off that end. They had a struggle because of how far it is to get down to the creek area where they were wanting to take their tests, and they've had good results with the piles, and we're gonna put in the order for the piles. I need to get back with them about that when some of those other piles are gonna be coming in, and everything's been going good so far with getting the bad material out. They were working it where they were only digging out as much as they could get filled back in that same day, just because of where that's at and how bad it would be to have an open hole down there with rainfall or something like that. So I thought that was pretty smart way of doing that. They've done a lot of bridge projects like this and very knowledgeable, and have been had everything going in the right direction.
Where are they carrying all the bulk to take them out?
Most of it's been stockpiled off to the side, and I don't know what their long-term plans are for that. It'd be very good material for doing shoulder work and building shoulders back and things like that. That would probably be my guess of what their intents are with that. Stockpile that off to the side and then come back and do your mass grading, bring all your upfill up to your slopes, required slopes. And then you could use that material to try to get something that will help you grow grass and get that permanent grassing established.
Did you have a chance to talk with Mr. Long about the northern part of ABC Avenue?
I have mentioned that to him. He's had some issues over the weekend, and I think everything's okay with Trent now.
Yeah, he's out of the hospital.
He's out of the hospital and back on his feet again, so I was glad to hear with him. I'll follow up. I've talked to Keith about that. I'll mention it to him again and remind him about that northern portion and getting us across the creek there.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Hey, Brandon, I'd like to ask you about, on Smith Road. Can you get any headway out of that, moving them poles? I know that's a problem. The phone company is what the holdup is, ain't it?
Yes, sir. They got the power moved over, but they can't demo those old poles with the phone and cable on there. And they had, I think AT&T might actually be the problem with that one, but I'll check with Brett on that. He did say that they were going to be in town. I think they told him they were going to be coming this week. He was expecting them to be here this week, AT&T. So hopefully he's got them back on board and back on track with getting that moved off of there and getting that pole taken and knocked out of the way.
Okay, because there's several poles there that needs to be moved out of
Yes,
that
sir, that
road.
one-
Somebody
that
gonna
one-
run into them.
That one's really bad. That's
Yeah,
in the-
one's right out
at the
there,
edge of the
edge of the
pavement. Yes, sir.
Wonder somebody ain't already hit it.
Yes, sir. They've got the barrels, those reflective barrels and everything around
Yeah.
it to try to make sure everybody avoids it. Goes through there. They've got it barreled off to try to make it more visible.
Okay, and I know we can't force them to it, but we need to do something, because them poles need to come out of that road.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Thank you, Chairman.
all right, thank you, Brandon. Any more comment from the commission? Scott, you get anything?
No, sir, I don't.
How is the, overpass bridge coming with the, on Albany Avenue?
Well, we had the meeting with a little preliminary meeting with the city, and Jennifer was out, but we're going to have an MOU written up with the city to outline all the expectations for both sides, and we'll bring that. Hopefully, maybe be able to bring that back for the meeting, first one in in February.
February,
Yes, sir.
okay.
When will that meeting be, Scott?
February the 13th.
13th.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any more? Anybody else got anything? Okay, I hear a motion to adjourn.
So, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Got a motion second to adjourn. Everybody in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
All right.
Appreciate it. All right.